you are.
I am gassy. I just had
guys should be
eggnog.
recording all
Who
this
isn't
candid
gassy after
conversation.
eggnog?
I didn't get any.
I've got your pillow here. Just go over. See, look at your son
That's
like to
fine.
like you, wouldn't you?
We're not a warm and fuzzy family.
Does that matter?
We're really not. Oh, Lord. She's killing me now. You don't have my white sock in the picture, do you?
No.
Thank
You
goodness.
got the grass stain on your knee, though. Very
With the green
prominent.
stain.
Well, that's okay. That'd be about right.
Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead and hit
Okay. People cease to talk, right? All right. Do we have the music in the
start.
background?
Yeah, turn it off.
Just punch the button far left.
One that says off. Problem with that concept.
It's bright green. Okay, ready? Here we go. Hi, I'm Lorin Young. I'm one of my mother's, I believe, 13 children. Is that true?
No, I don't have 13 children. 8.
I was born August 8th, 1969. I'm one of the 8. I was born between my brothers Spencer and Ted. And my earliest childhood memory would probably have been hanging upside down from the plum tree from a blue and white braided rope, struggling for my life as it slowly was cinching around my neck, and my mother finding me. I think that was the ripe old age of, what was that, 4?
You weren't
Possibly
very
5.
old.
Yeah. Young enough to kill myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have to say, though, that being my earliest childhood memory probably would be the theme for the rest of my life, hanging upside down from a plum tree, slowly choking to death from a rope. I got hurt a lot. I ended up being in a body cast when I was 3 for some time. I was always jumping off the roof. As I got older, I did things like rock climbing, rafting, shooting. And Mom doesn't know that the big scar in my right leg is from when I ricocheted a bullet off a gravel pit when I stole my dad's handgun one weekend and went out. But we did a little self-surgery. It turned out okay. Saw a beautiful scar of it. And that was just kind of it. I was a little bit wilder, a little bit crazy, a little less Mormon than the rest of my brothers and sisters. But ended up graduating from college. Got a bachelor's in psychology, and immediately went to a field where I could not use it at all, in financial industry, and have worked in banking, and I'm a broker, and have worked in foreclosures and collections, and I'm really passionate about cooking, subsequently eating, and working on cars and driving them. And I would have to say those are probably the things I focus on in most of my personal time. Also, I married for a second time my love of my life, Lori, and we have a beautiful son, Thor, who will be probably worse than myself as he gets older. He already is jumping off things and gets hurt and continues to do the same things. But yeah, I have to say that I thought for a period there that everything that was going to happen that was exciting in my life happened between the ages of 15 and 19, and then by mid-20s I realized I had to start doing new things, so I learned how to surf, learned how to work on things, learned how to do construction work a little bit better, and focused on all sorts of new areas that I never looked at before, and began writing and painting and drawing. So that's it. Does my mom have anything to add?
Well, yeah.
What's your impression of Lorin?
It's putting it mildly to say that you had a few injuries. I went in at least once a month to emergency with Lorin, to the point where they knew who I was when I got there at the hospital. And much later on, one of the men that was in the emergency that I used to see regularly, I saw him someplace else, and he looked at me, and he looked at me, and he said, "You look very familiar." And I said, "Yeah, I know I do." I knew who he was. So we had regular visits to emergency. But Lorin, as pretty much was always very happy, very inventive, very creative in a lot of ways.
And happy.
And
Always happy.
always happy.
Never unhappy.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He marched to a different drum when he went to middle school. They taught him about percentages, and he found out how he could pass a class on percentages. And a D passes you, a C fails you. He didn't ever fail anything, but he only did the work in the classes he liked because he just worked on percentages, and he'd come right out and tell you that.
Right. Which was fine though, because when I went to college, I graduated with a 3.65.
Yeah.
So I did better when it counted in elementary school. Please.
But then when you go in for conferences with the teachers and they say,
Yeah.
you must be doing something wrong because he's not dumb. He tests very high.
Yeah. Yep. I remember them giving me a test in 3rd grade because they wanted to hold me back.
Yeah.
That winch, Miss Rodriguez, didn't like me. So, and I remember I got like one of the highest scores. I was in like the top 10% or something
Yeah.
when I took it, which was very frustrating for her because I'm sure she wanted to torture me for yet another year, but didn't happen. As did Mr. Edwards, who was also a huge fan of my older brother Rob. Made me retest for the entire class for the year. I love that man. Here he died very badly though, so I feel sorry for him. But at any rate, that's pretty much it. I've always been injury prone. I'm still injury prone. I've broken every finger except for my 2 thumbs, multiple fingers on my right hand. My pinky is sometimes almost not functional. Ribs have been cracked. I broke my leg. That was a major one.
It was
And
your femur.
I've had a concussion. Just good fun stuff. Stuff I'll live through with my own son, I am sure. But yeah, that's it. I would have to say if I had a model for my life, it would be to have as much fun as frequently as possible. And that's pretty much all I ever really focus on.
Do you have any favorite stories about your mother?
About my mom, my favorite story about my mom was when we were really rowdy in church. She would try and very quietly pinch us to get it to subdue us from acting out. And I remember her smiling at me and pinching me so hard, and I remember thinking, I'm just going to smile back and we'll just see where this goes. And that was the last time my mom pinched me. I think Mom learned at a fairly early age that no amount of wooden spoons and no amount of punishment were really going to divert my behavior. So that would be the thing I think about that. The reason I think about that most of the time now is because I have a son who's the same way. He's unpunishable, so I can just have to smile and take it in stride. The other greatest memory I have of my mom is when her mother died. She was so profoundly stoic yet sad at the same time. And I think, I don't know how old I was, maybe 11? 11 or
I'm sure
12?
I'd have to figure it out.
Would have to say that I modeled my behavior or my emotional distress after witnessing that. That I can be extremely distraught and just almost display very little emotion. And every time I get into situations like that, I know it's something I've mentally recorded from my mother.
Okay. So tell me one of the happiest days of your life.
The happiest day of my life? Oh my gosh. Man, there's just so many. That's the happiest day of my life. The happiest day of my life would be the day my son was born. Second happiest would be the day I married Lorin. Boy, those are the toppers. Really, I don't have anything that can top either one of those days. A third, a close one would be surfing the pipeline in Hawaii. I always wanted to do that, and successfully doing that. That would be it.
Okay. Do you have any favorite family trips or beach memories with the family?
Yes, I remember vividly every trip we took to the coast with Mom and his family. We'd stay in the little cabins down in the seaside and going down and feeding the seals in the seaside aquarium regardless of the weather or the conditions, and just didn't care how windy it was, how wet it was. It just didn't matter. Throwing stinky fish into a pen of seals was always just a thrill, and then eating of course, saltwater taffy afterwards and wondering why it tasted so strange. But yeah, just remember, just forever locked in my mind is all the memories of those beach trips, every beach trip. And one day that's always will be larger than life will be the day that Rob took us to the coast in his orange Jimmy, and we went four-wheel driving on the beach down by Peter Iredale, and we stopped at Oni's on the way out. Had donuts at the bakery, Harrison Bakery, when we got there, and it was a rare sunny day at the coast where we just had a fantastic time swimming in the ocean and going to Coffinberry Lake, and just those would probably be like the best memories of that time in my life.
Did you ever run away from home?
Frequently, like with great abandon, to the point where it became uneventful. As soon as I realized that I could outrun my two brothers, I knew that I could leave whenever I felt like it. So I would take off, and they would try and chase me. They couldn't catch me, so I'd go until I was done, and then I'd come back. Then I had various ways to sneak into the house, and I could sleep in the top cubby of the closet in my bedroom, the bedroom that's now the computer room at home. And so I would come back, and I would be in there for a while before I'd let people know that I was actually home. So I could climb up the brick side of the house over by the chimney and climb in that window. I always leave it cracked when I left. I don't know how many times I ran away. A lot.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
Many.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I now live in the house I ran away from all the time. It never ceases to crack me up.
The interesting thing is to be in the front room and know that he was in his room, look out the little window that was there and see this kid coming down a rope by the window.
Yeah, sneaking out.
Sneaking out.
What are some family traditions you remember from your childhood?
Oh, Christmas mornings at Grandma Cobb's, having all the family get together and having coffee cake. You know, the smell of coffee and fresh baked goods in my grandma's home. Just I always thought that was wonderful. Just looked forward to it every year, and it was just a great time. It was a great time. Everyone was relaxed. There didn't seem to be a lot of personal politics involved, and just one of my fondest memories was when Grandma was alive. We used to go there. Loved my grandma.
What do you remember about those trips?
About the same.
Hmm.
About the same.
Do you have any favorite memories of Lorin specifically?
Favorite?
Yeah.
What was your most frightened moment as a parent?
Oh,
I
when
know
we
I'll have that
brought you
coming.
back from Crooked River, that was very frightening. He fell quite a distance, and he was trying to follow Spencer and Ted, and they were hiking down Crooked River down a trail, and he fell through a formation in the rock. He just dropped, and he laid there, and he says, "I broke my leg." And he was just a little kid. I mean, he was like about 3.5.
Yeah, I've been close to 4.
Yeah. So Tina and I drove back to Portland. I drove him to get his leg set, and then he was in a body cast for a while. That was very frightening. Very frightening.
I tell you though, being in the body cast, I knew every minute that I got outside of that body cast, I was going to make the most of it for the rest of my life. So I hated being in that thing. So it just probably magnified my aptitude of getting hurt. So I thought I was just going to do it all next time I was free of that device.
He was lucky when they took him into emergency, because he'd skinned the front of his face, his forehead and nose right down his face, because he'd gone right down a rock facing. They were examining him for a fracture, skull fracture. The leg was the last thing they looked at, and yet it was a femur break just right below the hip. So that was kind of that really was a horrendous time for me.
And painful. Very painful. It was extremely painful.
You still remember that?
Yeah, I remember the sound of my leg breaking, and I remember knowing it was broken, and my father saying, "Well, try and stand on it." And I was like, and it's broken, and it really hurts.
And he wasn't
I was,
crying.
I
He
was in a
wasn't
lot of
crying.
pain.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, when I was in the hospital, about all the times I was hurt before, and like how I'd cry and make a big deal about it. And then I remember thinking, no, this really hurts. This is what real pain feels like. Cool.
I can't think of any other questions. Anything else you want to add or talk about?
No, not really. I really think the best of mom survives in her kids, and always will. All of that will always be passed down to the next generation. See the traits, the best qualities of our family being passed down to our kids, and I know, our children will pass them down to their children. So I really think what you accomplish in your lifetime is really only bears out in your offspring, your children. And I think if they're good and they do good works, then you're successful. So I hope I can be as successful as my mom, and if not, then too darn bad.
Thank you.
I know she'll love me anyways.
I will, I'll love you anyway.
That's it.
Thank you.